Listen here. First thing, second thing, third thing, we're on time. Okay?
We are on time.
We're on time. It's time for rapid reviews because every time you do rapid reviews, it's on time because it's time for rapid reviews.
Boom.
Do you understand me, Nick?
That's what matters.
I don't know
on the
what I
wrong
just
page.
said.
We're on this one. Hold on. We're going to switch over. Boom.
Hold on.
No
Now we're in
border.
it.
No
Now we're in it.
border.
Can you hear us? Can you see us? I feel like you can.
I feel like you can.
It's time for rapid reviews. This is a monthly roundup of every game we played.
Which this month was a lot.
This is about
This is
maybe
the best month
a
we've had.
record month for
In terms of games played, taking aside the week where we played all the games in our collection in a week,
Sure.
this I think is the most games we've played in a month, and this is for sure the most new games we played in the month.
We have 61 games total, and like 40 of them, like a full 2/3 are new.
between like 35 and 40 are new to us games. It was a wild month in terms of how much stuff we got
A lot of
played,
stuff came together. We went to a convention.
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot more stuff on Board Game Arena, a
Yeah.
lot of new stuff on Board Game Arena. We both played some new stuff on Board Game Arena.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy month for games. I was just like, looking at we track all of our plays and stuff, and I was like, at the end of the month, like, what?
Yeah.
Like, even, again, going to cons always bumps the numbers.
Of course.
But this is another level.
Yeah, and especially at the con. Usually at cons, we don't play a lot of new stuff because we're usually teaching a lot of games. But in this case, we got to play a ton of new stuff. We're at BGG Spring. If we got to see anybody there, thank you for saying hi.
Come on in.
So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. But first, the thing we always do, this is a month. Sir?
That's how you know it's
Please come
live.
The month roundup. Boink. We always go through all the patrons we got in the last month because we want to give a big shout out to our Patreon because we are Patreon powered. That's what YouTube channels say, Mike.
Patreon
They say we're
powered.
Patreon powered.
A little tease and stuff. Patreon's literally powering a very silly project that
It
we're working
is,
on right
and
now.
it's
Stay
pretty
tuned
great.
for more on that.
Cynthia, hello from the Netherlands. Love the Netherlands.
Hello, and hello, Gabna, says Joker, and hello, Linnea.
All right, so new patrons. We got Daryl. Thank you so much, Daryl. We had Ronald Creighton.
Appreciate you.
We had Ken from BibleBoardGames.com. Bible Board Games is a very frequent commenter on the Brothers. We'll probably comment on this video. Thanks,
Appreciate
Ken.
you.
Appreciate you. Corthane. Love Corthane. Hi, Corthane. Greg. Ooh, this would be Moroska. Sorry if we said that wrong. Pardon us. Sean T.
Thank you.
Sarah. Value.
Value.
Sorry, it's French. My apologies.
I'm sure we butchered that.
Pete Myers.
There we go. It's easy to say.
T. Lance.
Appreciate you.
Josh White.
Appreciate you.
And Pumpkin Jenlin.
Appreciate you. What I just
Love
love
the name.
Love
Absolutely.
the name so much. Thank you,
name.
new patrons, current patrons, former patrons of old.
Thank you so much.
Literally cannot say enough thank yous. If you want to support today, check links in any video we make.
Indeed. It said, yay, finally caught you live. Mr. Jerkface, thank you for being here live.
Thanks for coming on
down in
down.
the comments, let us know where everyone is from. That's always
Yeah.
nice. We have someone from the
Where are
Netherlands.
you
we know
sounding
that.
off from? Don't dox yourself.
I
Don't
know we're
give us no
quicksanders.
zip codes,
Yeah,
but
don't dox
but
yourself.
give us a general area.
But nonetheless, Mikey, we're going to go ahead and get into...
Absolutely. As always, we start with everything that's new to us, and then at the end, we'll kind of wrap up things we've played. You've heard us talk about them before. If we're replaying them, it's probably because we like them, so that's just like a blanket thing. But let's start with what is new to us.
And we always do this, again, in alphabetical order as
Yes.
well, unless I mess something up, which is very possible.
Yeah, it's more or less.
The first thing we played was Alta Plano.
There's a bit of a caveat here. We have played this once before, but it was a long time
It was
ago.
new in your list because I guess you hadn't logged.
It's been like
we
since
played this a
2018
long
or
time
something.
ago, but this was basically new. I had to completely relearn the game from the rule book.
Yeah.
The last time we played this is kind of like a successor to Orleans, where
Yes.
it's a bag building game, but this one's set, I believe, in like Peru, and you have llamas and stuff. You're kind of going around in this kind of this big ring of different locations and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, Estonia, let's go. That's rad. We're huge in Estonia.
I'm at workplace and city, country, law. We know the
I know where
answers
that
to all
is,
three of those
actually,
things,
yes.
but we won't say it here.
But nonetheless, Alta Plano, we played years ago because we love Orleans, and we're like, we're going to love Alta Plano, and we didn't really like it when we played it.
Yeah.
So we wanted to replay it for like years. We finally got a chance to replay
I've almost
it.
blind bought this because I've been so, like, we're going to love it.
We're going to love it.
Love Orleans
There was
so
something
much.
wrong with that day, and here's the thing. I really dislike this game.
It's not.
I just
it's,
don't.
It's not the same.
I dislike it more than you, for sure. But like, this game... to do the different actions on your player board, you're putting these different followers, I guess they're not followers, they're goods now, onto your player board to
Same
activate these
thing.
actions, but you also have to be in that location. And I personally just find the moving in this game to be completely unnecessary and tedious. You just have to do this like farm action, you have to be at the farm. And so you have to then make sure to put food on your movement spot so you can actually move over to the farm to do it. And I just find it to be incredibly tedious. Not to mention there's a lot of different goods in the game. And some of them just don't really have much of a work placement spot at all. And they just kind of feel worthless. They just feel completely unnecessary.
Agreed.
And
with that,
so,
100%.
Unfortunately, it's still going to be Orleans for me. I really didn't like Alta Plano again.
Bummed.
We've played it again in a couple of years. I just really dislike the movement.
It just adds too many things that are like there were several turns, and granted, like if you play this game a bunch, you probably aren't going to struggle with this so much. But I had so many turns where like I have like workers or goods on a certain action space. I'm just like, I can't get to that location. I was like, cool. This round I did nothing.
Nothing now, yeah.
And it was just one step too many puzzles within puzzles.
Yeah.
And gosh, I love that little alpaca though.
I want to like it
to love you so
bad,
bad, but I did not.
Yeah,
It's
there's
not
been a
good.
couple games recently that've been like, man, I really want to like this game, and kind of didn't, unfortunately.
Bummed.
We'll talk about one a little later.
Yeah.
Mike, you got to play Applejack. I'm very jealous.
Applejack, that new Uwe tile lane.
It's not here yet, I don't
goodness.
think, right?
I don't think so.
It's on
but it is
BGN.
on Board Game Arena. We almost bought it back at PAX Unplugged because someone had gone to Essen and bought up a bunch of copies. So they had like heat. They had
like
a bunch of stuff.
$70 or something like that. It was
It was
super
too much,
expensive.
and I would not pay $70 for this. But it is a great, smaller, two-player Uwe Rosenberg tile lane game where you're building out, you're putting out these little hexagonal tiles, and you're trying to ultimately build groups of different types of apples. You want to have like a large group of like these green apples or red apples or orange apples. Theme is heavy here. And then there's also along the edges of some of those tiles, honey. And if you match up honey to honey and you have like a 6 and a 2, whatever the lower number is, you're going to gain that honey. Each tile also has a honey cost that you pay, but honey are also your points. So it's a solid game. If you like these Uwe tile lane games, like I would absolutely pick this up for a regular price.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
And as you're going
I've heard it's
through
good.
and kind of taking turns, certain apples are going to score, and you're going to get honey for those. If you have a large group, every time you kind of go around, there's a die that goes from 1 to 2 to 3, and so you'll get like if I have 5 red apples and it's the second kind of round, it's gonna be 5 minus 2. So but as you build up through the game, you go through the kind of track 3 times, you'll have built up larger areas. It's just really fun to kind of match those honey, the edges to make the honey matches and stuff like that. Really solid. I enjoyed this game a lot. I thought it was really, really fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Julian said all 7 board gamers in Estonia adore you. Yeah, we'll
take
We've
it.
monopolized that market.
If
Let's
you get
go.
an 8th, if you get another friend to join, we will visit Estonia.
Boom.
And have a game day with you.
y'all's dime. Can the government of Estonia bring us out?
I would love to visit there.
We finally got to play Automania.
We did.
Talk about, hey, Monster Mash.
This has been on the list of want to try
for years.
for a long time.
For years. So this is a game, I've always heard about the Dice Tower talk about this game. This is a game where you are working in a car factory and you're making cars. You're making like family cars and like, city cars and like trucks and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're making these cars, but Dice Tower, especially Z, always really talked about this game. They always talk about like, it's really nice because on your first turn, you get to make a car. It's not like you have to we'll talk about this later, but Kanban. So you have to do multiple steps to eventually make a car. It's like this, you're making a car right away. And so I've been wanting to try this game for years, and it's just super not available. Just really, really not available. But it was at BGG Spring because they have a really big library.
Who the heck makes this or made it, but it's
Me
not
neither,
being
honestly.
printed currently from all accounts.
As far as we know. And it's
So-
good. I didn't think it was like outstanding. I thought it was good.
It's a game where I enjoyed myself just fine. It's a game that like 5 years ago, probably when it came out, we would have been
I was gonna
whoa!
say,
And now you're
the
like,
exact same thing.
yeah, like this is a fairly standard level of game in terms of like
cool, like
complexity.
worker placement.
Yeah.
You gain tiles, you put
of
workers
a
out, and then you
tableau
get
build.
a tile from that row or column, and you
Yeah.
can always like outbid workers. Basically, if Mike puts 1, I can place 2, and then Mike gets that worker back. So there's definitely some interesting stuff going on.
Absolutely. This is a solid game.
Very, very solid game. But I had the exact same thought. I was like, man, if I had tried this 5 years ago, I think I would have been like over the moon about it. At this point, I'm like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's solid. Yeah, it's
Good
solid,
game.
but it's just like we have other games that do similar things here that we like better, and we do like now have and play Kanban. It's like, well, I'd rather play Kanban than this.
Well, I mean, yeah,
but that's
that's-
not a
it's a
diss
whole-
against Automania.
No, not at all.
Really solid game, and to that point, you're building cars and doing stuff from the very beginning, which is really nice. And not a lot of games do that.
And a lot of people are calling my
enjoy it.
shirt. Yeah, this Floodgate Games actually sent us this.
I'm a
I don't know if
masterpiece.
this is like available, but Floodgate sent it to us. That's what people are asking where the shirt's from.
Sagrada tie-in, yeah.
So it's a good one. It's a good one.
It's just a good one.
Mike, you played Azul. This is specifically Azul Mini.
Back on my BS with Azul.
Yeah, that's right.
I played it on BGA as well, and I played Azul Mini with
just
Karen
Azul.
a few times. It's been a long time. I fully played out Azul. Like I
Yes.
played it too much back in the day. It had been a long time. And then I heard about Azul Mini coming. I was like, you know what? Getting rid of Azul has always been a little bit of a regret.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wish we hadn't done that. We kept like Stained Glass as Sintra for a while because it was newer, and then it's like not as good. I was like, why don't we just keep the original?
Yeah.
We got Azul Mini, and it's really fun. It was a nice reminder of like, man, this is one of the most classic games.
This is why this game took over the planet for a year or two. Yeah.
And like, do not forget, like this game took over the hobby for a while.
Yeah.
And
kind of still does,
now,
considering how many versions there are of it, right?
It still gets played all the time. But it was nice to come back to it and play it. And I was like, you know what, man, this game is really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really
So this
solid.
is the new category, because technically this is the Azul Mini. It's just Azul.
It's Azul.
But nonetheless.
But I also haven't played Azul since we started logging plays 3 years ago now. I definitely have not played it since then.
Okay, well, that's good to know. That's good to know.
So effectively new.
This is new for Mike. You might going to play Books of Time. I played this the month before.
You did.
This is a board and dice game where you are
Allegedly.
writing books, 3 different books about history. It's kind of a civilization-themed game in that way, where you're writing out books. There's a book about science, a book about trade, and a book about something else. Something else.
It's over there. I can
Words.
check it. Things.
But basically, you're getting these different pages, and these pages are going to have actions on them, and you're going to put them into one of the 3 books, depending on what kind of page it is. And then, so you can gain pages, but then you can also do actions in your book. So when you do actions in your book, there'll be an action on this side, and they're actually little binders that you're building out. So you're actually building out a book.
Yeah.
And you'll do an action on this side and the action on this side, and then you'll flip the page, and there'll be 2 different actions. And there's a whole bunch of different stuff that you could do in the game. And you're trying to build out your books in certain ways, depending on like kind of objectives. There's bump and tracks, of course, as there always is in board and dice games. I really, really like it. It's a nice like medium weight board and dice game. It's not like they're big
Not
heavy
super
team
heavy.
games. And it's just such a cool gimmick.
Yeah.
We recently did a top 10 about cool gimmicks, and somehow this one didn't make it. Maybe you hadn't played it yet at that point.
I don't think I'd played it yet.
This has got such a cool gimmick of like making the little binders and stuff. It's just really, really fun.
Yeah, and it does become about like, you know, those binders, you come in, give you these actions, and you want to sequence actions well because you turn those pages, you want it to kind of chain together certain, the trade book in particular, you want certain pages to be in a specific order. Yep. It's a really solid game. Yeah, the gimmick like actually works well. It's a fun, lighter game for them. Cool art, cool theme. It has a lot of the flavorings of, like, to me, like this does a lot of the flavorings that you see in a board and dice game, but it hit it a little better than like Zapotec did for us.
Or just hit it differently.
You
like
know?
it's
Whereas
just
it's like, it gives me some of those crunch feelings and stuff without the heavy.
Diana's asking
really
if a kid could play Books of Time. Depend on the age, but it's not that complicated.
It's not that complicated. You need to help. You need to hold a hand through it. But yeah,
you bought and played Bottom of the Ninth, Mikey.
I did. I bought and played.
Almost bought this game
Bottom of the Ninth.
many times.
Same. It's always at Barnes and Noble for like. I literally, when I got this, it was on Redonk sale. It was like $5. It was super cheap. I was like, okay.
Was it worth $5?
It was worth $5.
Okay,
sure. One thing that's kind of annoying is like this game at one point was on Kickstarter, and so there was like, it's a game where you're playing the bottom of the ninth. So one side is like the home team, one side is the away. The home team is pitching. The away team is trying to like be the upstarts and win, or maybe it's the other way around rather. Home team's batting, so they're trying to walk it off, right?
Yeah.
It's a mental mind game. It's really fun. So it's like you basically have, if I'm pitching, which I was, you can throw high or low. You can throw it inside or outside. Throw it in or away, and you're going to choose a combination of those. So it's going to be high and in, high and tight, low and away, whatever it is. And the batter is going to basically try to guess what you're going to throw.
Right.
And depending on if they get like low. But they get half right, they get like a little bit of a benefit. If they guess it correctly, they get a little bit more of a benefit. And like as a pitcher, I had like a signature pitch.
Right.
So I'm like going to try to lean on my curveball if I can, but they know that's my signature pitch, and so they might try to guess that and stuff. It was just a really fun mental game of just like, he's not going to throw it inside again. I was like, absolutely, I'm going to throw it inside again. The thing that was annoying with this version is like, they're like, oh, choose any starting pitcher. And stuff. It's like, in this thing, there's one starting pitcher. Because it's not all the content. I was like, well, that sucks. Like, I want more, like, stuff.
That's funny.
But I don't want to get, like, I don't need a ton of it. But I was like, give me a little more. It's like, I literally have one starting pitcher. I had a bunch of relievers I could choose from once you take your starting pitcher out. But it was a fun time. It's just, you laugh and you're rolling dice to see if they swing and hit or they miss, and you're calling balls and strikes and stuff. It was a really fun. It's a pure filler game. But Chris and I we played at the end of a game day where we played a bunch of stuff, and it was a perfect game for that time.
Sure. What's up, Jake? Joker said, "Have you tried Zapotec with quick start cards, the gold variant?
No, but
we have not want to.
By the way, at the end of this, that will be a game changer.
I'm answering questions now. I'm not sure why. We usually do a Q&A at the end of this. We'll do a Q&A at the end of this.
Keep asking
any other questions? Yeah, keep asking questions. We'll answer the end of this. We finally played Broken and Beautiful. We've had this game for like a long time.
I played a prototype of it back in PAX in 2021.
A long time ago, yeah. This is a tiny little game based off of a kintsugi, which is the concept of when pottery breaks, you then essentially reassemble it, but with gold in the seams. Essentially, it's like when it gets broken, it becomes more beautiful, more valuable kind of thing.
Once it's repaired, it's like this thing of like a broken plate is worthless, but it has that art of kintsugi added to it. It becomes more valuable than ever before.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is a really simple set collection game where you are gaining different things of pottery, basically, and then they can break, but you kind of want them to break because then you can spend your gold to then repair them, and then they're worth more points. So it's a simple little set collection game. We played it a couple times. It's really cute, really good. And a great little like travel game. Yeah. Just great little filler kind of game. It's good, yeah.
Yeah,
and a cool concept, a cool theme,
Absolutely cool theme. It's a cool concept. It's pure set collection. So even if things don't break and then get repaired, they're still worth something. They're just usually worth more. So you're kind of like want stuff to break, but you also need to get it fixed because if it's broken in the other game, it's worthless. So it's got a couple little things going on, but it's just a nice set collection game. Highly recommended. I imagine it'll be cheap places because it's a tiny little game.
Yeah, it's the only game. I played Can't Stop for the first time.
I played a Can't Stop tournament, bro.
You did. Can't Stop is very good. Mikey went out and bought this game. Which is fun. This is a game of pure push your luck game. It's all it is. There's nothing else. There's no theme. The theme is dice. And you are pushing your luck, trying to move up these different tracks, trying to roll the same things, but if you you can bust in the game. And here's the thing, for a pure push your luck game, it's outstanding. It's amazing. It's been very popular for a very long time for a very good reason.
It's incredible. It's a perfect press your luck filler.
Yes.
Again, there's no like annoyance that you get like in a potentially like in a Quacks of Quedlinburg even. We'll just keep pulling the wrong thing. It's like this is the whole point is roll dice. It's random.
See if you can keep going.
You have some choices because basically on any turn you can be working on up to 3 tracks.
Yes.
Now once you have 3 tracks established, I'm working on.
You always got to move up 1.
3, 7, and 9. If you ever roll and you can't put together a 3, a 7, or a 9 based on the dice you roll, you bust. You lose your progress, and then you can always choose to stop and net the progress you gain, and then on the next turns continue up the tracks. It's stupid fun. It's really fun. It's a push your luck game in the pure sense where it's like you are going to be pushed to push your luck. Yeah. Like you are going to want to stretch as long as you can, and that's what this game should be. Yeah. You don't want a game where you're going to play it cautious. Like no, this game's supposed to be reckless abandon.
If you are playing it cautious, don't
stop.
Don't play cautious.
You shouldn't stop.
It's very good though.
It's a great game.
Very, very good.
Amazing.
We played Comic Hunters. Played with our good friend Eric Link at BGG Spring. Eric had to import this game in from Portugal because it's only not Portugal in Brazil.
They speak Portuguese.
It's in Portuguese, exactly. And this is it's not available here, but it's really, really fun. Yeah. This is a game where you are collecting comics, and these are Marvel comics. Yeah. And it's kind of different. There's essentially 3 different kinds of drafting you're doing in the game, and they're all kind of like interesting, very weird kinds of drafting. It's not just like, oh, I'll take this card. I think one of them is kind of
like a standard, take a card, pass the rest of your left kind of thing.
But there's ones where you're like moving, like
you have like a tableau of cards on the table.
Yeah, and you're like moving over and taking like a whole row, basically. It's very, very interesting. It's got kind of a Kanagawa draft where you can take cards now or you can wait because there'll be more cards. But do you want this one now? Because if you take it now, no one can
take a whole row.
Exactly, and so it's very, very cool. But then you're essentially trying to get collections of comics. So once you have 3 like Iron Man comics or like Black Widow comics or Hulk, you then have a collection, and you want a whole bunch of little collections or a couple really big collections of the same ones.
Different games will basically make certain types of collections more valuable. So maybe like Spider-Man, this game is
super valuable.
So you want to have a huge collection of Spider-Man because you're gonna get a ton of points there. Or again, do you diversify? There's also like certain tracks that are randomly assembled where it's like you're looking for like the first appearance of a superhero. So there'll be like a little
first editions or whatever,
Or one where there's like superheroes against other superheroes. So like a versus. a villain tale and stuff. And so you're trying to collect these certain icons and stuff. So it's just it's set collection.
Set collection with weird drafting.
Yeah, with all those weird drafts and stuff. It's super rad. It's super not here because they absolutely just use real Marvel comic covers, which I'm sure Marvel is like, no, thank you.
Or they might be.
Or maybe in Brazil it's legal, but it ain't legal here because
like,
it differs between countries. So it's super not. It's like the Star Wars Rising games. Like it ain't legal here.
Yeah, it was legal in the UK.
There's
you
different
can get
licensing.
Star Wars, you get Darth Vader Rising in the UK, but you can't get it here.
But it's rad because it's like actual comics, it's really actual
cool
covers and stuff.
Yeah, I would love for it to get picked up by a U.S. publisher,
it.
But again, it had to be a U.S. publisher that has to deal with Disney because it's Marvel. So like, who knows? But it's really, really fun.
Yeah.
And I did like it a lot, but it is super not available.
I hope it comes out someday over here because it was really neat.
It was cool. You got to play Crusaders. I Will Be Done. We played this game a long time ago, but at this point, again, it was basically completely new.
Yes, I played this in a game day with that buddy that we played Bottom of the Ninth with, Chris, and I've been wanting to try this because we played it probably back when it came out, like 2018, and I remember being like, it's this little Mancala rondel thing where you're putting these little action tokens around, and basically when you pick up from an action, however many tokens or little cylinders you have in that spot, that's how many like action points you have for that action type.
Yeah.
And I remember being so flummoxed by that. I can't get the pieces where I need them to be. And it's still difficult. But I remember it feeling very heavy. And the game the turns are super snappy.
Yeah.
It is not difficult with where we are now in our journey of gaming.
Geniuses.
And it's really fun to manipulate that little wheel of actions and get everything around. And you're going around fighting people. And building buildings and stuff like that, and working up these kind of tracks, which will give you scoring and also give you more and more kind of strength in whatever action you're doing, and making things cheaper for you and stuff, and getting like as much influence as possible. I really liked it. The turns are like super.
I don't know if this is because Tasty Industrial Games no longer exists. Who made this game? So I don't actually know if this is.
I think Renegade picked it up.
Oh, did they pick it up? Okay. I'm not sure if it's available anymore.
I've seen them carrying it. I'm pretty sure, and the expansion for it.
Yeah, I want to try again because I remember I like Mancala in games, and I want more games to have.
It's very Trajan-y in that way, the way the Mancala works.
Yeah, exactly right.
But yeah, I liked it a lot.
We've played a whole butt ton of Dorfman Antique. We've played a lot of Dorfman Antique.
I'll play right now.
Watch our playthrough. We just go for
it. This is live. I'm gonna play
right now. Do it right now. It's somewhere on that shelf. So Dorfman Antique we got to play at BGG Spring, and Aldi, who owns Board Game Geek, was very lovely and gave us a copy of it. Boom! Look at it. Oh, dang, almost the exact same size. And it's really fun. Dorfman Antique is based off the video game Call of Duty 4 specifically.
Call of Duty, baby.
But it's based on the video game Dorfman Antique. Dorfman Antique is really just a board game. It was kind of like a Carcassonne game that was a video game, and now they made.
Game, man.
Our chairs are being dumb. Mine's gonna be short this time. I feel great. I'm the tall one now. We need new chairs. Join a Patreon today.
Support our chair fund.
They're getting real sad. But nonetheless, this is a tile laying game, a cooperative tile laying game that's really, really, really fun. Watch our playthrough of it. We're not going to talk about it too much because you should go watch the playthrough.
Check it out.
It's really, really fun, and we cannot stop playing it. And it's a bit of a campaign.
Yeah, there's unlockables and stuff. It's just so casual, and I really appreciate that for the fact that it's like perfect family weight game.
Yeah.
And like, as we generally tend toward heavier games, it's really nice to have something like this as a counter to that, where it's just gonna be fun, but you still get to unlock stuff, but it's not a campaign game that's like hard to set up and takes forever, so it means we're never gonna unlock. Like Dwarf, we will actually get through all the unlockables because it's not that hard to get played. And that's really exciting.
Indeed.
I'm gonna try again.
Try it again, man. We got to play Glass Road. This is an Uwe game. Yeah, that chair is really not having it. Do you want to switch chairs?
No.
This would be weird.
Freaking short.
You can call the Patreon a charity.
Oh,
indeed.
A charity. I like it.
Good chairs are expensive, fam. Glass Road. This is Uwe Rosenberg game that we wanted to play for a very long time because we just are trying to go through all the Uwe's.
Capstone's carrying it now.
And really want to pick it up. I really like this one a lot. Yeah. This is an interesting one where you have a set of 15, essentially like workers. They're like there's like a woodcutter and like this person. You're just kind of like general workers in like
these cards.
They're cards, and you have a chance to. You have 15 of them, and you're only gonna be choosing like 5 each round, basically. And of those 5, you're really only gonna play 3 of them generally. But you kind of want to kind of choose ones that you think other people aren't going to choose, because each of these
ideally you're
cards,
doing an action alone.
Yeah, because each of these cards is going to have 2 actions on it. If you play that card and no one else played that card, you then get to play it. You get to do both actions. But if you play the card and then someone else is like, oh, I've also played that card, they have to flip it over. You get to choose one. But it's also nice because if Mike plays like the woodcutter, but I still have the woodcutter in my hand, I'm then forced to play it. So the thing is, you're only playing 3 cards in the round.
Yeah.
So if you want to play all 5 cards, the only way to get them down is if other people choose those cards. So it's this weird thing where you want to be the only person to choose a card, but you also kind of don't.
You like want to have cards in hand that you think other people are going to choose and have those hopefully get played.
Yeah.
And so that you get to make use of them, but you don't care if you're playing it alone, and you kind of want to have games. There's a little bit of guessing what other people are going to do. And then beyond that, you are using your resources to build out tiles on your little player board and stuff.
Tiles.
Certain things are like, I want to be adjacent to other types of things.
Very
They'll
Fields of
open up.
Arl, all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
It feels very Noosefjord in that, like,
it's quick.
It's quick.
With 2 players, it's fast.
It's a snappy game.
It's like 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah, and it's not punishing like a lot of Uwe games where there's a bunch of negatives on your board. There's none of that.
It's fast. It's a little bit of a lighter game for an Uwe game.
I put this into the Noosefjord category.
Yeah,
of like
Noosefjord, Atiwa kind of category,
with all the feels of an Uwe. I really want to get this one.
I do too. I really liked it a lot.
Uwe makes good games. What can I say?
Uwe makes great games. We played Hamlet. We played this on stream for Mighty Boards. And this is kind of the second game we kind of talked about with Alta Plano. The second game that we both really wanted to like, but neither loved.
No.
Hamlet is a game where you are building out a hamlet, and you are kind of putting out these tiles to this growing kind of joint hamlet. And on these
soon-to-be village, you know.
Soon-to-be village, exactly. You're trying to build the church. Once it has a church, then it's a village. And there's some placement spots which are gonna have different like resources like stone, wood, wheat, and then there's like these upgraded ones which can give you like milk and bricks and things like that.
You basically start to bring raw materials and refine them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're refining them. And then there are a whole bunch of different tiles that are scoring tiles. And essentially, when you put them out, you will put a little flag on it, and then you'll get a score at the end of the game.
Yeah, you claim it.
The thing with Hamlet is, like, I really like the movement. It's got this really kind of interesting, like, daisy chain movement where you're kind of like, you have donkeys, and donkeys can allow you to transport stuff. So if you have kind of like a row of donkeys, you can transport goods like bang, 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 bang.
From like tile to tile to tile.
Throughout the whole Hamlet, which I think is a really cool system. It gets a little fiddly, but it's just... I don't know. The game just didn't work for us. One, I didn't think the buildings were very interesting. It was like, there's like the raw materials, and then it's like, hey, now this one can make bricks, which is a refined wood, and now this one can make 2 bricks. And that's like, that's all. That's all it is. It's like none of the buildings that you could actually interact with the game I thought were very interesting. And then so many of the buildings, like over half the buildings, were those scoring buildings that don't do anything during the game. They just score at the end of the game. So to me, and a lot of them were kind of like duplicates, where it's like, this one, you want it to be surrounded by like mountains. You're like, okay, and then there's another one
for forest.
Yeah, and then there's another one where it's like a bigger tile that also wants to be surrounded by mountains. So it was just like, to me, it was like there's so many scoring tiles that don't do anything during the game. And then the ones that did do stuff during the game, I didn't think were very interesting. And then the kind of final kicker for me personally was, at the end of the game, I was like, cool, I've seen the entire game.
Yeah, you see everything.
You see everything. So I was like, there's never going to be, at least in my opinion, anything new. And I still want to try it again. I want to give it another shot.
There is an expansion that's on campaign right now. And I'm curious about what that adds. Because maybe it'll like infuse it with a couple more things. Yeah, a little more variety. And then it'd be cool. So I'm curious, but like when you play a game and it immediately needs an expansion, you're kind of like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, it just didn't work for us personally. I want to try it again. I'm interested in the expansion. I love the look of it. I love that the tiles aren't like normal shapes. I think it's cool.
Lene makes a good point. There's a lot of like small text on those tiles, and you're all building on the same city, so it's a lot of like, what's over there?
And even with 2 players, it started to get busy with all the donkeys and stuff, and it would get even more.
It's kind of a mess a little bit.
But it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, when we played it, we're like, all right,
it was fine.
You know, it happens.
We played Joan of Arc. This is the Orleans Draw and Write, which is stupid good. If you want a kind of an Orleans feel, but fast,
there you go.
Bam. It's so good.
It feels very Orleans-ish. You're not building your own bag of followers, but what you're going to do is put out, in like a 2-player game anyway, 5 of these followers that are all the same ones from Orleans. You have like the merchants and the shipwrights and stuff like that. And then you're going to take a tile and then make use of that worker, and you're kind of working on different areas of your board, but it has all the stuff of Orleans where you're gathering goods, you're working your way on a map and building settlements around and building out from Orleans itself and gathering goods along the way. And then does all those kind of great roll and writey things where as you complete rows and columns of goods, you get bonuses. As you collect money, what's fun is if you collect money, the rows, and collect a fully filled row of goods, you get a bonus. Then as you spend money for every column that you completely spend, you get bonuses down there. So there's a lot of chaining together fun combos, and it feels very Orleans in a great way where there's like events and stuff in the round. There's buildings you can build. It's awesome. Yeah. It's really cool.
It's really fun. I really liked it a lot. Again, if you want kind of a quicker version of like a Orleans, it's really, really good. We haven't played it solo yet, which is kind of the Joan of Arc part of it is solo. The other part's like literally there's no Joan of Arc.
Like, where's Joan of Arc?
So I do want to try it solo because I know people really, really like it solo. But yeah, it was very, very good.
And Jen played the Drawn Right for
That's right, indeed. Awesome. But you had to play Last Will.
Ah, it's so good.
For the first time in a very long time.
Long time. So Nick picked this up when you were at a game store in Anaheim, and you picked this up, and first time you've probably seen a store in a very, maybe ever, a long time. We've had and loved Prodigal's Club for a long time. We played Last Will way back in the day, and at the time, there was like what we perceived as fiddliness and stuff where like you get this many actions, but you get to draw this many cards and blah, blah, blah. And like we were so confused by it. And now you play it, and this game is very straightforward for where we are as gamers now.
It's not nearly as heavy as Prodigal's Club.
No, it's just one where you're trying to like just blow through your cash as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And you're getting invested in real estate. You want to buy high and
sell
and
low.
Basically just run that house into the ground and then sell it for nothing.
Yeah.
You're going on events. You're bringing your horse to a buffet to spend even more cash.
Yeah.
It's just really fun and funny. And then now the whole like amount of actions you get and stuff like that is not as confusing as it once was. Like I could say that it's maybe a little strange and stuff, but you're like, you get it.
Yeah,
and
it's
like
fine.
Now I understand like, oh, maybe I do want more cards. So this actually makes sense why I'd want this one versus that. Whereas back in the day, I was like, I just want like more stuff. So why do I have things with less? It's so good. I'm so glad we have it.
It's so good. Like you said, I think I definitely will. I think I'll always like Prodigal's Club more, but Last Will get played more because it's, especially with two players, it is not a long game. It's quick, it's snappy, it's really, really fun.
Yeah.
Love Last Will. You played Lumen. What is Lumen?
Lumen is a roll and write from Bruno Catala. It's a two-player area control.
That brew trade?
Yeah, it's two-player area control roll and write.
Okay.
It's very much modeled after Trek 12, which was by Bruno Catala. In that game, and similarly here, you are rolling dice, and you can either take the highest value die, the lowest value die. You can add the two dice together. You can subtract from each other, or you can multiply them.
Okay.
And I think divide them.
Okay.
So, and you're choosing one of those functions to basically get a number. And on your little player board, you are trying to create either groups of the same number or create sequential runs of numbers. And those are going to facilitate the area control aspect of the game, where you're putting out troops onto a map. These like magical creatures, these animals and stuff. They all provide a certain amount of strength, and they have different ones have different abilities and stuff. And if you make like add on to a group of like 5s, for example, or create a group of 5, say you create a group, and this now I have 3 5s that have all connected up. I get to put 3 troops out on the map that are from my little ready area. If I create a run or add to a run, I get to then instead move units around and activate their abilities. And you're just trying to control different areas and collect Lumen. It was really interesting. I played it on Board Game Arena. I'd really want to play it in person, and I think it'd make a little more sense and be able to. Right. But it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
To make an area control roll and write game. I've never seen that. I think you can solo it and you can play 2 players. So specifically, so it's like there's a lot of interesting things. So I want to track this one down and try it IRL.
That's definitely interesting.
Yeah, cool. But color me intrigued for now.
Color me intrigued. We're going to play Marvel Remix. Marvel Remix is the Marvel version of Fantasy Realms with a little bit more going on.
Play with Atlas in chat.
We did play with Atlas in chat, and I like Fantasy Realms a lot better. I ultimately do. This is one of those situations where they added more stuff to it, and don't get me wrong, it's not like it's a complicated game, and I still would play this at any point. I really did like this. But they added more stuff, and it's one of the things where, like, to me, the beauty, it's like a King Domino, Queen Domino situation, where King Domino is great because of how simple it is, and I think Fantasy Realms is great for how simple it is. And the card scoring in Marvel Remix was more complicated than Fantasy Realms, and I don't think that added anything to it. I just think it made it harder to play.
There's like a couple more icons you're tracking and stuff, and like it wasn't anything we couldn't handle.
No, not at all. And again, it's still not a complicated game. It's still a very simple game. I just prefer Fantasy Realms. I want that game to be as simple as possible, and Fantasy Realms is that. And Marvel Remix is just one tick more complicated, and I just don't need that.
Yeah.
I still really like it. I love the theme.
I kind of wish they just kept it really basic.
Yeah, I would play it at any point, but I definitely prefer Fantasy Realms.
Yes, not bad anyway. And for some people, maybe they're going to want that little extra level. Like you have to have a villain in your hand, or else you can't score. And that villain will usually like lose you points for something.
Yeah.
The one thing that's kind of nice about this that's different than Fantasy Realms is, with the exception of those villains, everything either gains you points or doesn't do anything.
Yes.
There's nothing that loses you points.
Yes.
And I think that's a nice move in the right direction. But yeah, it just adds a couple of like things. I'm like,
Again, honestly, if I found it for a good price, I'd probably still pick it up.
Nitpicks, yeah.
Really liked it.
Because the theming, I'm like, oh, I love that they're super. I'm like way more interested in that than like Fantasy Realms, which is like beyond generic.
Beyond generic.
So it's but yeah, but it's solid for sure. Solid for sure.
But yeah, this again, both great, but really enjoy Fantasy Realms just a little bit more. Mike, you got to play Meadow.
I did with Atlas as well. Atlas learned it. I got this recently. We've always wanted to try it because it has the drafting mechanism that is seen in Quadropolis. Where you have these like tiles that have like 1 through 4, and they put it on the side here, and it's a 3. I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3 cards in and take that. And you are building. It's interesting. It's puzzly in that you're essentially making and facilitating ecosystems of creatures, animals, and stuff. And you're going to put down certain cards and stuff that are kind of the most basic. They'll be kind of like landscape. They're going to have an icon. And then you're going to kind of try to play like a bug on that, and then a bird and things. And basically everything eats something else.
Yeah.
And so to play a bug, I'm going to have a certain kind of like requirement of an icon or icons that it must go on top of. And I can place it on top of one of those cards. And then now I have like an insect, and there might be a bird or something that wants to eat an insect, so I can chain that together. And you're kind of building out these stacks, ideally, because you start to trigger higher and higher and more valuable cards by doing that. So it's really interesting. There's a little bit of a race element to get to certain icons in your tableau of cards. You can have, I think, up to 10 stacks building. So you kind of want to be as efficient as you can, but you need to have a foundation to then build up from and stuff. And so the cards that are available that you're drafting from are going to often dictate what you hope to have in your tableau, because you have to have it present before you can play the new card on top of it. So
seems cool.
It was really interesting, puzzly, in a super solid way, with like just made some of the best art ever. Adorable. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really, really cool. And I'm curious about the expansion too.
Yeah,
Go down river or something.
Indeed. We played Millie Fiore.
Amazing.
Which was very good. We played this at BG Spring. Mike picked it up. I was learning Alta Plano while Mike learned this one.
So many people, because DeVere's carrying it over here.
Yes.
So many people posting about it.
Yes, by Spitzspiel
playing it. Yeah. And I'm like, I want to try this game from this up-and-coming designer named Rainer
Knizia. Indeed. This is a game where there's essentially a bunch of different like districts in this city, and they kind of score in different ways. And you're playing a card, and you're putting one of your like these really cool like acrylic see-through diamond pieces
into an area on the board, based on the card you
covering up the icon of the card you play, basically. And so you can still see through because it's acrylic. And first of all, it's just so pretty on the table.
Pretty.
It's just some people were like, "What is that?" And we're like, "It's gorgeous."
Especially because you're gonna have multiple players, and so you have all these colors of diamonds. It just kind of shimmers on the table. It's really pretty.
And then so it's like certain things like all these different kind of districts score in a different way. So there's like the housing district, where it's basically like you want a bunch of your diamonds in a row, and you'll basically score
a big old group.
Basically you scoring as many back until you hit someone else's color of diamond. This one you want a big clump, and this one you want the pyramids and stuff. It's just all the districts score in a different way, but it's very simple ultimately. There's also like bonuses on bonuses where you're like comboing stuff in these big crazy ways.
It's amazing.
It's super good.
Yeah, you are scoring points every single turn.
Yep.
You're going to score at least a point, and you are going to hope to accomplish these certain goals to trigger. There's all these things that trigger bonus turns, where you literally take 2 turns in a row, and if you get another thing like that, it cascades, you get another turn. You can take 2, 3, 4, 5 turns in a row if you line it up correctly. We didn't do that. quite, but it's super fun. I want to pick this up so bad.
Yes, we'll pick this up.
Super pretty,
quick as possible.
combo-tastic, scoring a bunch of points, simple. That might be Reiner. Can you say his best game in, I don't know, 10, 20 years?
Is it new?
I said it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know it was. You never know with Reiner Knizia. It's like, oh, I made this game in the,
I guess
the
in that
1910s.
sense, it's probably based on something else.
And I'm bringing it back. Back then it was called Bean
I thought it was like based on an
People.
old thing, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but like at least this one was listed as
Okay,
new.
cool. I did
If it's old, it's better than ever.
You played Mind Management.
I did.
How was Mind Management?
It was really interesting. It's this hidden movement game with deduction. I did horribly, but I got better as I went. I almost got Atlas there in chat.
Mike and Alice had a game day.
We did. We had a game day. It was great. It's really interesting. So basically, Atlas was going around moving, and I, of course, don't know where they're going, but there's certain rules about how they move. They can't basically double back on themselves. They have to kind of keep moving forward, for lack of a better word. And on this board, there's basically going to be like 2 types of icons on every space. And so you can ask questions about, like, have you passed through a billboard sign? And then they have to reveal one of the spaces they walk through that has a billboard on it. And so I can see, like, part of the path. I don't know if that's new or old.
I see.
And then as they kind of move, similar to like a stop thief, it'll whittle down where it's like, okay, well, based on these bits of information and the kind of icons that I know they've walked through and stuff, they can only be in like a few different areas. And they're trying to move your agents around to make use of their abilities to hopefully be able to run into them. And I got to a point where I had like a 50-50 shot. I know they're here, and they were like, I think 1 step further than I could reach, but I knew it was right in that area, but I couldn't quite get them in time. And they're going basically through and recruiting people in that time. So you're on like a game timer. It was really interesting. Those types of games aren't really like
your jam.
Not fully, but I really enjoyed what you did, and like that was the most basic version of the game. So you can add in all sorts of elements to it. So I'd be curious to return to it. It was very cool, even if it's not quite my wheelhouse.
Sure.
And I almost got there. So like I started off horribly. I'm like, I don't even know what to think of or suggest. And then I was able to start to put together, and it got really fun to get hot on the trail.
Right.
And I almost did.
Yeah, it can be intoxicating, that kind of stuff in those games, right?
Definitely. I can see how this game would suck people in big time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We got to play My Shelfie.
We did.
By that Praise
Be and Matt Dunstan.
Indeed. Praise be the Praise Dunstan.
Yeah, Walker hard, ain't PA.
So My Shelfie is a game where you're building out a shelf and you're drafting tiles from this kind of central area, and you kind of have
like living room, yeah.
Yeah, kind of living room. There's gonna be like books, board games, cats, things like that, and you're essentially putting them into. Essentially, it looks like a Connect 4 type thing where you're literally sliding them in.
Dropping them into and building up these columns.
But these columns of stuff, so you're building your shelf from the bottom up, and you want to put stuff next because you want groups of certain things, like a bunch of groups of cats or books, something like that. But then you also have a card that dictates where you want certain things. Like, hey, you want a yellow piece here, you want a blue piece here, you want a purple piece here. So you're also kind of like like role player style.
Yes.
Where you're trying to put your dice in the right spot.
Certain things in certain locations.
So you're following these different things, and you're drafting out these tiles from the middle of the board, and you can draft. Is it all one color of tile?
No, you can take up to 3. They all have to have an exposed
That's
edge.
what it is. Yeah,
they have to be from the outskirts of the...
Exactly. So you're taking them, and you have to put them all in. It's just really, really fun. Super simple. A good, like, little puzzle, but not like anything crazy.
Yeah.
It's just Phil Walker Harding, praise be goodness. You know what I'm saying?
Really puzzly, fun. It's got a great toy factor with the kind of Connect 4. This is like a game absolutely where, like, if someone hasn't played games since they're kids, like, have you played Connect 4? Play this.
Yeah.
It's got some more puzzly elements.
Yeah.
There's, like, these public objectives, so you want to build out your thing in a certain way. Yeah. And it's just really fun to drop them into the little columns and stuff.
It's cool. Jen brought My Shelf to class with her and taught some students, and they loved it. Yeah,
yes, that's such a good...
It's
I
really
think
fun.
It's a perfect game for that kind of transition into, like, here's what modern board games look like. They can look familiar, but there's more things to think about. There's more active choices. And I like that you're working on your own shelf and not competing directly against someone else.
It's very nice. We played Nana. This is another game we played at BGCon. This is my personal favorite game we played at BGG Spring. Oh, wow. I really, really like Nana. Nana is essentially Gamers Go Fish, which I know sounds bad because Go Fish is not a great game. But this is a game where you are essentially trying to win challenges. What challenges is if you find 3 of the same card, like 3 3s or 3 4s or 3 6s, something like that. And you have your cards in your hand, and they're low to high in your hand. And you can't rearrange them. They have to be low to high. And you then get to ask people like, Mike, what's your lowest card? And then Mike has to reveal his lowest card. It's a 2. And they can be like, Jen, what's your lowest card? If Jen reveals a 2. And then if I can find a third 2, I then will win that challenge. You're trying to win 3 challenges. And there are some cards down the table. So you can be like, table, what's this card? Flip that over. Sometimes that. But on top of that, what can happen is I might have a 2. So if I go, Mike, what's your lowest card? A 2. Jen, what's your lowest card? 2. I go, Nick, what's your lowest card? And then I can put down a 2. Yeah. So much of it is just like the knowledge that you have. I might have like 2 3s. So if I can find one of the 3s, I'm like, Nick, what's your lowest card? Bam. Nick, what's your lowest card? Bam. And then you can take them. It's so much fun. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of that Fuji Flush kind of game where it's like a simple card game that I can't really explain why it's so much fun. But it's so much fun.
I think it's because they give you a couple of rules to follow. Like the main hook here is that it's just a memory game, really. But the main hook is that you can only reveal, including yourself, you can only reveal your lowest card or your highest card.
Nothing else.
So like the fact of that, like oh man, I know where all the 3s are, but I have a 2 here. I got to somehow get rid of this 2 first. So it gives enough of a puzzle, and then it's fun to like try to remember where people have stuff, what's been revealed. There's some laughs like involved because eventually you're like, oh, I know there's a 10 on the table, and you flip the wrong thing. You're like, I thought the 10 was there. Is it not over? And so just the memory of the fleeting memory that we all struggle with is really fun. This game is really fun. This game is coming out, I think, from Cocktail Games as Trio. I think it's on BGA now. But Nana's got cuter art. But it's also not available here. So get Trio if you can. It's a great game.
Really fun. Really, really fun game. We played Nemalia.
I love
Nemalia is
ridiculously good.
Stupidly good. Like, we got a little demo of this at PAX Unplugged. Fun. This is by Le Botte Jeu, but Lucky Duck Games, who sponsored the Brothers Murph. Thank you, Lucky Duck Games.
Thank you, Lucky Duck.
They're the ones bringing it here. They work with Le Botte Jeu a lot. And this is a game, it's kind of got, like, it's just card laying, Cartographers-y vibes.
Stacking.
Where basically you're going to be putting a card out, and that card is going to have different landscapes like, water, like lakes, jungles, desert, savanna, that kind of stuff. And they're also going to have animals like pandas and lions and giraffes and stuff on them.
Oh my.
And when you put out a card, the first one you put down, you'll put down, but then after that, the cards are square and they're all broken up into quadrants. Yes. So when you put down a new card, you have to cover up at least one space on at least one card.
Correct.
And there's going to be 4 scoring things. It'll be like score your biggest savanna, you'll get 2 points for every panda in a column. Well, only 1 panda in each column.
Yeah, you want to have you want all your gorillas to be separate from each other.
Yeah, you want your gorillas next to lakes or whatever. There's all these different scoring stuff. And the first round, you're going to score A and B. Then you're going to score B and C, then C and D, and then like A, B, C, and then D, B, A.
Yeah, everything's basically, every category of scoring will score 3 times.
Yes.
So it's got that Isle of Skye.
So good, because you're just going to have to cover stuff up constantly, and it's insanely good.
It's really fun. Yeah, you're constantly building up areas, ripping them apart again, because you're stacking and covering them. So it's really fun, really simple. You're building no more than a 6x6 grid.
Yep. So that also
total, so you're limited.
Hurts because you're like, crap, I want to build it, but I have to cover this
stuff up. Yeah,
it's ridiculously good.
Yeah, it's really fun.
This is going to be like, we're going to take this game everywhere. If we ever are traveling, this is always going to go with us. It's small. It's like a box like this big, tiny. It's really, I'm like over the moon. I think this is up there for game of the year for me. I mean, I really like it that much. I think it's absolutely
just for like a small game and stuff. Like it does a great job.
We had to play Ovation. There's going to be a playthrough for this coming out on our channel next week.
Next Thursday, probably.
Yeah, probably around
a week from today,
more or less. Yeah. Ovation is a game where you are you're composers, you're famous composers.
You're like Mozart and stuff like that, and you are dead. You're dead now. You're ghosts, and you're in the Haunted Mansion. You are taking different actions to gain cards for the most part. And perform music and stuff. And so you are taking, there's like the seek fortune, seek patronage, perform music and gain inspiration actions. Your inspiration are basically your currency for performing music and gaining cards. You have like joy, passion, sorrow. And you are gaining these cards. And what's really cool is as you start to accumulate these cards, you're going to slot them in, for the most part, above your player board. Mm-hmm. And then when you go to take the action like Seek Inspiration action, any cards that are above it, you can trigger as bonuses if you have music tokens to put on them. So you are limited in that way, and you'll gain more music tokens as you play.
Perform more music, yeah.
But it's really fun because like sometimes you're gaining just extra inspiration resources. Other times you can put something on it which will allow you to take another one of the action types on your board completely. Like you'll move your composer to that action. And then if you still have music tokens and there's bonuses above that action, you can trigger those. So you can chain together by the end of the game.
Another action.
You can take a crazy turn. We do like 3 different actions, and you're ultimately trying to build up these things to perform music pieces, which are going to score you your biggest kind of hits of points. There's like chamber music, then concert music, and concert music's like the most highfalutin, but you have to have performed certain pieces or types of pieces. Either that's a tone, so it's a joyful piece, or a piano piece, or a clarinet, or whatever. To build up, but it's all about like putting together these like combo turns, which was really fun. Every time you perform music, you also get an additional music token.
Yeah.
And those music tokens don't go away. You use them every turn. So you can start to build these like wacky turns where you get a whole mess of stuff.
Yeah, it was, I really liked it. And the fact that you could build these like crazy engines was pretty darn cool.
So this is coming out to crowdfunding on the 20th.
I think,
So stand by. Again, we'll have our playthrough and overview next week for it.
Yeah.
Ahead of that, there'll be links to the campaign on those videos if you find it interesting to you. But we quite enjoyed that one.
We're going to play a quick game of Parkade at BGG Spring. This is a game where you're trying to... it's essentially a word association game. And it's kind of got one person is the kind of judge, and you're basically have these little... It's like a little parking lot. It's kind of a weird parking lot theme.
Yeah.
But basically, there'll be like a bunch of words out there, and then you have words on these little cards you put out there, and you're like, this matches this word because of this reason. And then there's the judge, at least in this version of the game.
Argue your case.
You're kind of arguing your case. It's one of those cute little games that I don't really love these kinds of games where there's like a judge deciding whether or not yes, that works or yes, that doesn't work. It's not really my jam. But again, people love like Apples and Apples, those kinds of games, right? You know, Cards Against Humanity, those kind where there's like a judge.
There's room enough for this kind of game to exist. This is a game that you got for free going to BGG Spring, and it acted that part of like, this is a free game, you know?
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad per se. I was happy to have played. The company we kept while playing this game was really fun.
It was great. We were playing with two wonderful, wonderful people at BGG Spring. So yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
I got to play Powerline.
Jealous. I want to try
Powerline.
I didn't have any assumptions about this until after you played. You're like, this was amazing. I was like, what? I want to know more.
Trash. No, it's incredible. It's really, really fun. So this is a game. I played this with a bunch of the BGG crew, and they're basically like, we're not sure why this game isn't getting more love because it's really fun.
This is Queen Games, and Queen Games is like an unassuming publisher at this point.
I guess, kind of, yeah.
Isn't in the limelight?
Not really. It's not over here. And it's really, really fun. This is a game where the theme is you're building out like power stuff. I don't know, whatever, theme. But basically what's going to happen is so whoever is the active player is going to roll out these dice, and their dice are, it's like black die, yellow die, red die, that kind of stuff. And they're going to go in a very specific order. Like, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like black, yellow, blue, red, white,
that's
green.
where you have to play them in?
Kind of. And so basically there's going to be like these 7 dice in this order, and you are going to place, and the pip value of those dice matter because you have all these different like rows on your board, all these different like power lines that you're trying to essentially connect, and they're gonna have different pip values. So it might be like 6, 2, 1, 3, 6, 6, 3, 2. They're in this line, and so you can choose to activate these dice for this way or this way. So if it's like
either end of the power line.
Yeah. So essentially, if it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, you then have to find like a 1, 2, 3, 4 somewhere, and that's how you're putting them out. So it's this really tough puzzle because you can essentially work on multiple of these lines on your board. You can essentially work on 3 at a time, 3 in a round.
Stop.
Kind of. 3 in a round you can work on. But again, you have to go by the pip values that's on your board, but then you also have to go by the pip values that are on the dice that were rolled. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's super weird, super puzzly, and tough because once you start... Once you start a line on your board, you have to continue that way. You then can't start from the other side and meet in the middle.
Right.
And so once you start something, you're like, I just need someone to roll a 5 on the outer dice because that's where you have to start from. And so it's just this super weird puzzle that's really, really fun. I was like, I want to go find this game immediately.
I'm so curious. You were explaining it before, and it does sound fun, but it definitely seems like, and I wonder if this is part of why it hasn't got more love, like you have to see it to believe it. Like, you have to play it for it to click.
Yes.
Because you're explaining stuff, and I'm like trying to envision it. I'm like,
It's
I
weird.
see what you're saying, but
It's
like,
weird, I promise
I
you.
don't get it.
I would love to pick it up, and I think Lincoln is going to have us over to do a game night for it.
Yeah, stand by
So
for
there
that.
probably will be an not on our channel, but on BGG's channel. So I think he wants us over to
That'd be cool.
Play Powerline on a game night because it's really fun, but it's weird. It's weird, and it's kind of hard to explain. But it's really fun, and everyone is just kind of in that misery together. Everyone's just blaming the dice roller. I thought it was absolutely outstanding.
Very cool, very cool.
We're gonna play Rossa Dancer Love,
We got
which
to do
is
a little playtest demo situation.
yeah, and this hasn't been picked up by a publisher yet, although I believe that it's going to soon here.
I gotta think it will. This is an interesting game.
Melts your mind.
Made by one of the designers who made Viticulture World specifically. Yes. And this is a game about dancing, and bringing dice together. Ultimately, you're drafting dice together to make matches of colors and pip values and things like that. It was super puzzly, really interesting game based on like a period of time each year in India where like all these huge dances go on. And so people are getting paired up together, and it's very much a, opportunities for meet cutes and stuff like that. It's really cool. So there's this board where there's like these, I think 5 or 6 satellites essentially.
There's 6, yeah.
Where 6 of everything, I guess, yeah. Where you're going to be drafting a die from, depending if I choose like the E satellite, the 5th satellite, or F, and they all have different actions you can do and bonuses you can do. And when you select a satellite, you're going to choose one of the dice. There will always be all 6 colors. There's 6 colors. There'll be all 6 values of those dice present in that area, and you're trying to get different values of dice and different colors together because you ultimately kind of want to have like a yellow die. There's like these dress cubes. You want to have 2, yellow dress cube with a yellow die so that they're matching, means their fit is
looking good,
elite. The values of the dice will dictate basically the tempo at which you're dancing. And there's like for each round a certain tempo that is like the preferred tempo. It's like a 4 would be a pretty medium tempo. Well, that's the music
that's playing during that round. So people who can dance at a tempo of like 4.
So if you're drafting a level 4 die, that's someone who's like, I'm dancing my best at this level. So there's a lot of stuff like that where you're trying to get these things matched up.
There's so much going on.
Each dancer will ultimately, you have 3 dancers, will have 3 dice on them. So you're going to draft 9 dice in the game. And each dancer wants to have 3 different colored dice that are specific, so if you can get that matched up, you get bonus points. There's a lot of things like that.
So many different things
that facilitate the drafting. It's super interesting. It's on this board that literally like rotates, and all of the pieces, all the dice like rotate. So it's like
kind of like Tzolk'in style.
Yeah. Really, really cool. Interesting, puzzly. The actions are simple though. Really. I can't wait to see this get fully kind of fleshed out and refined. Yeah. And we were kind of having a little bit of a talk afterward about like, oh, I might,
do this.
massage this over here.
Because it's still a demo. He was asking like, what would you change? What would you not? So yeah.
But stay tuned for it. It's a really, really interesting, different game.
Yeah.
That is aimed to be easy to get into, and it was very easy rules-wise to get into. And really very pretty. So
super puzzly. Will absolutely destroy your brain.
Really, really cool.
I'm going to play Rear Window with Atlas in chat, who's wrong about Amalia.
Got him.
I'm going to play Rear Window, which is based off of the adult film. This is based off the Hitchcock movie.
Hitchcock had a side career.
Probably, let's be honest. He was a weirdo. Wasn't he?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, right. This is about Rear Window. This is kind of like a Mysterium-ish type game where there's one person who's kind of like the ghost of Mysterium, but in this case, the director. And they're putting down these cards trying to get you to essentially, you have these people and essentially these like items and stuff, and you're basically trying to get the right ones into the right room.
Right.
And the way that the person who's putting out these cards is trying to do that is by putting out these cards that will have different stuff on them. And it's very like Mysterium-like in that way where you're like, I'm trying to get you to guess this color because I keep putting out a whole bunch of blue cards. And so there's blue on everything. But in this case, you put this thing down and I'm like, oh, there's music on this one. So they must want this music thing over here. They're like, no, it's not. That wasn't the music. And it's that thing where you can choose to like, you're putting out more cards. You can flip down cards. And then I have a couple special actions that I'm allowed to do where like once in the game, I could be like, okay, up here, was I correct about this? And they can be like, yes or no. And you're like, okay, so I'm wrong about that, which means that person can't be there. And it was a very interesting game. The box is like 3 to 5. We definitely played it 2-player, and I think there's like a 2-player variant. I really liked it as a 2-player game.
Seems like it'd be really great for
because you're just kind of getting into it. Like, what are you talking about? What are you trying to say? Is this? You keep putting these people here. Does that mean these people are supposed to be here?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you might have said this already, but I think it's really cool. It's like if you have like 4 elements correctly, they will let you know there's 4 elements correct, but you do not know which is correct or wrong or where.
Yeah,
you just know that
really
you have half the stuff correct.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like, I love that.
So you're like, oh, I got 3.
Specific
you're like,
vagueness.
I'm pretty sure about this one. So I definitely know that's the right one, and it might not be because you might be wrong. Yeah. And so it was very cool. I definitely liked it. And those kind of Mysterium type games are always fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I liked it.
Right on. I want to try it.
You played Sagani.
I did. So
you're going down the framework Sagani Nova Luna.
Yeah. So I've been playing this one on Board Game Arena. It is similar to like a Nova Luna, a framework. But a little bit different. So here you have all these tiles. They're going to have like these like spirit, creature, elemental things. And you are going to want to get certain colors, essentially, similar to all those other games. But here you don't have to be adjacent to the tile. They're basically, the tiles are going to have arrows pointing like white and an arrow up, meaning that if white is anywhere above it, does not matter if it's right next to it or way down the line, and it's basically pointing right at that color, you can then cover up that arrow with one of your discs.
Interesting.
And you're trying to cover up all the discs on a tile to be able to flip that tile and score it, and you get those discs back. So it's not the same in that it's a race, pure race to get your discs out. In fact, you probably often will get your discs out, which is a bad thing because as you add tiles, you need spaces for those discs to go and stuff. So you have to start pulling from these like negatives and stuff. So you kind of want to manage completing those tiles and not having a bunch of unfinished projects out there at a time, because every time you finish a project, you get those discs back and you score those points. So it's really interesting in that, like, it's not purely the flow through adjacency thing that Nova Luna did or Habitats did. It's just about like getting stuff in the directionals, but it'll be on either the cardinal directions or on the diagonal as well. So it's very puzzling in that way. Where you're trying to build this tableau. It's like, well, there's blue over here, so if I place this and rotate it here, it'll point to the blue. And then if I get a green this way, I already have the red going that way. It felt pretty different while being similar to like a Nova Luna and stuff. Cool. I like this one a lot.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. Cool. All right, let's go. We're gonna play Slackjack. We had a couple friends over to play this game during a stream. And this is a very small, like $9. I think it's on crowdfunding right now.
Yeah, like card social deduction.
Social deduction game, just kind of pure social deduction, where kind of got a resistance-ish vibe, where there's like the captain, and then people are trying to convince you to bring them with you on this like little mission, and you're basically trying to get to 21, kind of blackjack style.
Yeah,
you're trying to get to 21. The captain's already gonna be like 10.
Yeah.
So captain's always 10. So you know you're at 10. So someone's like, hey, I'm a 4. You should bring me in. Someone else is like, well, I'm a 7. Then we can get to 21. But people might be lying because all the different roles want certain things. So sometimes they want to be like the lowest number in the group.
You want to be on the crew, meaning you were selected by the captain, but you want to be the lowest number.
Exactly.
Or if you're Slackjack, you want to be selected, because if you get selected on the crew, you basically mutiny and take all the money for yourself and leave everyone high and dry. Exactly.
So you're trying to get money, and it's kind of a race to 5 coins. So you're trying to get in these different ways where sometimes you're just telling the truth. Like, no, I want to go because I'm an 8, and that would work perfectly.
You get a gold if you're on the crew, you know.
And it was a good little social deduction game. Again, nothing super crazy. It does kind of like you're just kind of straight up lying or telling the truth or whatever. There's not really much else going on.
So it's in those like kind of classic social deduction games, which are not our favorite.
But
this one like is simple. And the fact that it's $9,
I'm
like, honestly,
little deck cards, $9. I'm like, it's great for that. It's great for that.
It's got this weird kind of cutesy art and stuff. You can play with like a more basic version of the game where most people just have cards that are numbers, and so you're providing that value. And then there's a couple of special roles, or ones where we played, which I would recommend, where everyone basically has a special role, a thing they're going for, or a thing they provide. Much more interesting that way. So if you don't mind, I think it'll probably be done through like a game crafter or something, I assume.
I would assume,
I don't know if that's true. But if you don't mind something like that, it's like a $9 game. It's not going to try to like take a ton of cash out of you, and you don't mind those straight up social deduction games, go for it. Not our kind of game typically, but for $9, sure.
Yeah, 100%. We played Sobek 2 players, which is a 2-player version of Sobek.
Yes.
This game was. I'm not entirely sure how. I liked it.
I think we need to play it again.
I think we do.
But I enjoyed it. It's a set collection game, really, where you're trying to collect these sets of tiles, these types of goods. And there's this Ankh figure in the board.
It's kind of
where
grid.
basically every time you take a tile, you'll move the Ankh figure to that tile, and then the tile you draft will basically tell you how the Ankh figure is going to face, and then based on wherever its points are point, either it's up and down to the side or on a diagonal, that's what you have available to draft from for the next turn, for the next player. So I thought that was really kind of interesting.
It was, yeah.
It's just kind of straight up like set collection stuff. There's these characters you can get, which you can either add to a set or use them for their power. So there's a couple little things going on. It's fairly basic.
Yeah.
It's a nice little production.
I think I was
a like, didn't love, but
I liked it. I mean,
you know, for a 2-player game, like why not? And there's a little expansion which I almost bought, and I kind of wish I had because maybe it'll add a little bit more.
Maybe a little more.
But,
I mean, it's a good game. It's a solid game. I do want to play it again. The art's cool. And again, it comes in that kind of 2-player, like 7 Wonders dual-size box, so it's relatively small. I think I was expecting it to have a little bit more in terms of like complexity or a little bit more going on, and it was just ultimately very simple. And I was like, oh, okay, this is just a pretty simple kind of set collection game that I liked. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I want to play it again.
But yeah. We got to play Space Station Phoenix. We're currently playing games with some of our Kickstarter backers, and one of them wanted to play Space Station Phoenix because we have been wanting to try it, and it is insanely good.
It's really good.
Really, really like it. It's this game where you're building, you have like a central hub, and you're building out these different sectors of Space Station. You can build 9 in total.
Yeah.
And each turn, you're going to put your kind of ship on one of these cards. Those cards are going to be actions, and you can like construct sectors. You can dismantle ships for like metal. You can like do essentially some exchanges where you can bring in like aliens and stuff, which are all cool and friendly.
Yeah, you can do Terran expeditions. You go down to Earth and you're rolling these dice to get
resources and stuff. But basically, whenever you're putting your kind of ship on that card, you have to pay these gems to activate the card, and you can place on other people's cards too. You're just gonna have to give them some of those gems, which is cool. And then you're just building it out, and it's just one of those games where it's kind of basic when you think about it like that. There's just not really anything new or special, but it just works really, really well.
Yeah, so each player will have, you can play like asymmetry.
There's a lot of asymmetry too.
Asymmetry you can add into the game, which I would recommend. So like I had one where there's aliens and there's like Terrans, like humans you can put into these space station areas, and I was really, from the very beginning, the jump, I was like, it's gonna be beneficial for me to go human. And then I got like space station parts and stuff that would further the bonuses I get for that, or further the points I get and the income that I get from having humans. So I was able to build this like really specific strategy where I'm like, I'm just gonna roll hard. And go human strats and stuff, and it was really fun. But you could build a completely different type of engine for yourself. So you build this really wild kind of engine as you build out a literal space station engine.
Your like starting hub will have essentially kind of a special ability. There's like 24 different ones. There's all these different ones. They also have a scoring thing. So like my thing was like I was really good at dismantling ships because you need metal to build these space stations, but metal's really hard to come by. The best way you do it is by dismantling these action cards, which will give you metal. So I was like really good at that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to dismantle a ton. I'm going to get rid of all these. But then you don't really have as many actions. You have to like use other people's stuff. It's really interesting.
There's like neutral ships you can use, but they're pretty expensive.
I think the game is just, it's kind of generic looking. It's got a very generic like theme. It's just kind of like generically space themed. Yeah. And I think because
super cool.
I had never even heard about this game until our friend told us about it. But it's really, really fun. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah, really highly recommend. It's on Board Game Arena.
Indeed.
Check it out.
You've been playing Spots? Spots! What is this game?
It's a little push your luck game where you are trying to roll a dice to put onto these
Doges?
With matching values. So like that dog wants a 3 and a 5, for example, and a 2 there I can see.
Because they're Dalmatians.
You're eyeing spots the dogs. Get it? Theme. But it's push your luck because you are rolling dice. You're choosing an action to do that's available to use. And it might be like you're going to roll 3 dice, and then you're going to place those, and you can roll 1 die as many times as you want, kind of thing. Or you can gain these bones, which allow you to do re-rolls and stuff like that. Where the push your luck comes in is basically any dice you cannot place onto a dog card, and you'll have, 1 or more in front of you.
Yeah.
They go into your little dog house. You're burying those dice.
Okay.
And if the combined value of those buried dice ever exceeds 7, any like dogs that are currently in progress, you lose all that progress. And that'll be over maybe multiple turns. So certain times you're like, I'm gonna roll a bunch of dice. I got nothing in my dog house. I'm gonna go for it. There's like one where you roll like 8 dice and you choose like 1 value. You can place all of those on to dogs. So if I have a bunch of 1s on my dog cards, like, well, I'm gonna do this action. Hopefully I roll a bunch of 1s and I can choose all those to place. It's just really fun and silly and cool. Light kind of push your luck stuff, and I love the theme of this, like there's spots on dogs. Like,
I think it's very
pretty
cute.
clever.
Yeah,
so,
very, very cute.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Cool.
BJ, recommend.
We got to play Station Fall.
That's interesting, man.
Station Fall is... Okay, I'm going to put it this way.
Not our kind of game.
I'm going to put it this way. Station Fall is about the worst possible game for me. And I want to make that very, very clear.
Yeah.
For me and for my taste in games. The only thing that can make this game worse is if it had negotiation in it. Now, I want to make this very, very clear.
You could add negotiation to
if you are into these kinds of games, we'll explain the game in a second. If you're into these kinds of games, I honestly think this game is a masterpiece.
I agree.
It is just about the complete opposite game of what I like.
It's interesting, man.
This is a game where there is a big station. The station is falling. It's going to explode.
It's going to explode in like 10 minutes. Like every round's
like
a minute.
Quick.
So it's like it's all hands on deck. We're about to go down.
Everyone is a different role. The roles are all wildly different, and you want all very different things. There is a Astro Chimp.
Yes.
And that chimp needs a gun and a briefcase. And there's a gun in a briefcase somewhere in this station.
And they want to make it Earth. What's their plan when they get there? I have no idea.
Take over the planet, probably?
Yes.
There's the engineer, and the engineer wants the station to explode and wants everyone to die. There's
a billionaire who basically wants to live stream the whole thing, and they want their dog
They don't care if they get off.
They don't care if they make it, but they want their dog to make it to Earth.
And they're live streaming the whole thing. I was like this outcast exile person, and I was basically trying to gather information on people, but then I needed those people to get to Earth so that I had information on them. And there are so many, there's 50 of these roles. There's so many of them.
I was a daredevil. I was basically wanted to be the only person to make it to Earth, but I also didn't need to get on a spaceship. I had a jetpack, so I'm just gonna fly myself to Earth. I just didn't care.
You're thinking this sounds like a whole bunch of different stuff. It is. There's also this giant station. Every room in the station does different stuff. You can go jam the comms, and the whole time I was like, I don't know why. What does that do? You
can turn off the cameras because it's basically Among Us.
Kind of.
Where you turn off the camera, someone can see. You can go bonk someone in the head with a wrench and knock them out, and you don't become.
You can
suspicious.
kill people.
Because there's cameras are beaming stuff back to Earth. There's suspicion and evidence for stuff and data, and honestly, there was so many things, and for the most part, Nick and I are like, why? Why?
But again, I want to make this very, very clear. If you're into this kind of game, and there are a lot of people who are super into this, I honestly think it's an absolute masterpiece. If you like these kinds of big, crazy games with a bunch of different rules, all asymmetry. And here's the thing: when we were playing, I had a good time because we were super into it. I was like, "This is not my kind of game."
People who knew the game really well. We were playing with Scott from Board Game Geek, who recommended it, and the company, the actual game that we played was really fun because the company was really fun.
It was really good.
I was just like, this game is bonkers.
Yeah.
I don't understand. There's a lot of fiddly stuff. We all agree, the movement is super. You can move one space a turn.
You can't move at all.
And you're like, it's just too hard to move around. There's this whole area that's 0G. Guess what it changes for your movement? Nothing, except for one character that moves further in 0G. And I'm like, what? There's just so many things like that, and it's all hidden role.
And they're all so different.
There's 20 characters out there. We're all one. We all have an alternate we could declare as, and you're putting influence because you can control any character that hasn't been revealed by a person.
Yes.
So I can move the billionaire around and do stuff, and there's that. Ooh, are you the billionaire? There's 1,000,001 things like that are just he's fine.
What is he doing? Come here, Pip. Pip is doing something weird.
Pip's having a moment over there.
That's okay.
Anyway, that's how we feel about Station Fall.
It
was just
bonkers.
It was a hot mess.
Every character
that was probably really fun.
Is you can't hit this person with a wrench when they're in this room, but that's specific to only this. It's wild. Again, a masterpiece. If you're into these kinds of games, if you're into these big TI4, just big crazy games, really long with a bunch of rules, it's a masterpiece. It's about the worst possible game for me personally. There's no trading silk for stone.
Yeah, it was weird, man. It was a weird game.
This game is basically the exact same game. That's not a hat.
This game is amazing.
This game was super fun.
This is another memory game, pure memory game, where you're going to have a bunch of stuff like a cone or a pillow or a rat
or a pail.
Different, and they're very basics.
They look like
looking
this.
drawing.
Yes.
Yeah, that level. Like you would draw on Blue's Clues. And there's a bunch of cards, and you're sending gifts to each other.
Yes.
So basically, you're all going to start off with one item, face up, so we can see what the starting cards are.
Okay. Mike's got an ear of corn. They've got a bucket.
Yes.
You've got a coffee pot. Okay.
But then as you start to send things around, you're going to flip them face down, and that's going to tell you what you can either send it to your left or to your right. And you say, like, have this skateboard. Then thank you for the skateboard. Then whoever got sent something will then take a turn, and they're going to send something back and forth into the left and right, and more cards are getting introduced all the time. So it becomes very difficult to remember who has what, including you. You're like, I think I have a cherry. And so you push the right, enjoy this cherry. And you can basically at any point challenge and be like, that's not a cherry. That's not a hat. That's this thing. And it's super funny and super silly.
It's super silly. It just creates giggles, and it creates giggles immediately because you'll literally flip it over, and then one transfer will happen, and immediately everyone's like, oh, wait, what just moved? And you forget immediately, and that's the fun of it.
Instantly you're like, I don't know. And then while you're thinking about that, you forget what you have, and you're like,
wait, do I have a frog?
Oh, God.
Oh, wait, did I have the frog? Mike had the frog. Did he pass the frog to me? And
you're like,
and then you're like, and like you're supposed to be confident about it and be like, enjoy this frog, but we were constantly just staring at it being like, enjoy this frog? Yeah. And like that made it even more fun for us.
You're supposed to like bluff, and we're always like, I don't know what's going on. But then no one else does. So
literally like Aldi from BGG was literally just like staring at his cards being like, and we're like, Aldi, you gotta be more confident. Because we're like, you gotta convince us. And he's just like, enjoy this bucket. We're like, that's not a bucket. But like all of us were that way. We're just like, I don't know what this. It was so much fun. It had no right being as fun as it was, but it was. That game was incredible. That and Saints Fall basically the same game. We got to play Votes for Women finally. We had it for a couple months.
Right.
Got to play Votes for Women, which is kind of loosely based on like coin games. And it's kind of like a war game, but a war game is basically
like an event.
It's all card play. Yeah, because you're playing out these cards, which are going to allow you to do stuff. This is about the suffrage movement, where women are trying to gain the right to vote. And one player, at least you can play it competitively. It's a 2-player game, and one person plays the women, the other person plays the people who are against suffrage. Well, I guess it's not just the women, the people, suffragists and anti-suffragists.
The opposition.
The opposition, and you're trying to win. You're essentially trying to win over as many states as you can. You're playing on a map of the United States, and you're trying to win over states by playing these cards. And these cards are all real events that happened, which is super cool, being like, oh, this is, so a lot of things have like pretty bad drawbacks. You're like, oh, I'm gonna try and do this, but then the opposition has a card that allows them to kind of exploit that, which happened in real life. There's lots of different things like that.
Yeah.
It was very, very cool. It's very fun, great production.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always kind of like no interest in like war games, but this one had a theme that I thought was really interesting. You can also play the game co-op and solo.
Which is probably how I would play it. You can play 2 players that are you're both the suffragist characters against like the Oppobot they call it. Because it's a weird thing. It's like I know that this is a section of gaming and stuff where it's like it's a World War II
Someone's
game.
Gotta play the baddies.
Someone's gonna play the Nazis. And I'm like, it's weird to be like I was the opposition. I was just like, and I crushed. I was like, I don't love it.
I don't love that.
So I like you can play it cooperatively and you're both on the right side.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Is it how do you win the state? So basically, it's area control. So you basically want to have more of your influence in that. And there's tons of cards. Be like this. You're playing this specific person. This specific person was a big advocate out in like the Midwest. You get to put one of your influence cubes on all of the states in the Midwest
out there. Yeah.
And so it's really, really. Really, really fun. Really cool game. Very historical.
You don't put that devilry on me. How dare you? I was very conflicted during that play. I didn't love it. I mean, not the game, but I was just like, I don't.
Yeah, you don't want. You kind of like. I kind of hope a lose.
Yeah, you do. But again,
Mike, you got to play War Chest finally. It's been sitting on our shelves for many years.
Thankfully, Atlas, speaking of, just pulled it off the shelf, said, I'm going to learn this, and we played it. And it's not that complicated, but I had just built up a mental block where I was like, I can't.
Right.
This is an interesting game where you have these chips. Essentially, you're going to have, I think, 4 types of units in a game, and they're all different. And there's ones where they're kind of like historical based, where like these people have these types of weapons, you have these types of chips, or you can just randomize it. And they all have a little bit of a different ability they do, and you're kind of moving around and trying to control. There's, I think, like 6 areas on the board that will, like if you control, I think 3 or 4 of them, you win the game, or you get points and stuff like that. So you're trying to like control certain areas, knock out other chips. If they get knocked out, they're out of the game. Like they're done.
They're dead. They're out of the chest.
And you're kind of recruiting more chips into your bag, and you're pulling out like a few of them a turn. That's who you can use. And certain things you have to like discard an archer to make use of an archer's ability if they're out on the board. Or you can just put them on the board. Things like that. It was really interesting. I felt like Atlas had this like, I don't know, a freaking character that can just like run in a line and just kill everything that it runs over. They're like a cavalry unit or something.
The Juggernaut, yeah.
Crazy powerful. I'm like, I can't get away from this dude. I played as the anti-suffragist in War Chest. I just brought the cards over, which is why I lost. It was interesting. War Chest is really cool. I can see how people are really into it.
Yeah.
I want to play more because there's all sorts of
yeah.
units. We have the expansions, and you can just mix and match different stuff. It was just interesting. It was really, really interesting. Very different. But I liked it. A lot of people like it, and they've suggested it for a long time. Now I'm like, I get it. Why? Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, indeed.
Definitely cool.
Okay, this will be the last of the new games. I know it's taken us a minute to get through. We had a whole bunch. We played Wizards of the Grimoire. There's a playthrough on this game on our channel, so you can watch that. This is a 2-player card dueling game.
Yes.
That I thought was cool. 2-player card dueling games aren't really our kind of games, but this one was nice and really straightforward and simple, where every round you're essentially going to be drafting out a new kind of spell that you can do. Your two like wizards battling to the death. And then you're using these mana cards because each spell requires a certain amount of mana cards to be placed on it, like 3.
And that's also kind of a cooldown.
Yeah, and then at the beginning of each round, you're going to take 1 mana card off of each of your spells, so you can't keep casting them. You can't cast them again until the card is empty of mana. And then the mana cards all have different values, but when you're activating a spell, the value doesn't matter. But there's a lot of spells that will be like, discard a card from another spell and deal damage equal to that mana's value. So like, I'm going to put a 4 down here.
There's a lot of that kind of puzzling.
Then activate this, discard that, and then hit Mike for 4. There's a lot of that, and I thought like the kind of intricacies and the different combos you could do was really, really interesting for ultimately a very simple game.
Yeah, it was really neat. The art's cool. It's fun to chain those things together. If it's a super powerful card, you put like 4 mana, it's going to take forever to get that mana off, but you might have other cards, the purple cards, that help you move that mana around. It was neat, yeah, for like a little card dueling game. I'm like, this is great.
Small,
like,
you know, I mean,
those games aren't always our type of game, but they almost always are really interesting and do cool stuff. And this is very much the same, where you're like, that does some really neat stuff. I would play that game again for sure.
Yeah, totally. All right, so that is the new stuff. We're going to go into the stuff we've played before. We're going to go real fast through these ones.
Just let it play. Don't even stop.
First thing, Ark Nova, really great game. You know how great it is. It's wonderful.
So
Baseball Highlights 24 hours. It's actually been a little bit. My hat is somewhere over there.
It's like a once-a-year game now.
But it's so good still.
It's so good. Yeah, you're playing out these cards to simulate a baseball game, but there's robots and cyborgs and stuff.
Do love it. I've cooled a little bit on it, but it's like it's just
awesome though, man.
It's so good.
It's a good once-a-year game. We usually play it early in the baseball season, and honestly, like, I'm down for that.
Yeah. We played Blitzkrieg, which is World War II in 20 minutes.
I'm so bad at that game.
It's like a tug-of-war kind of game where you have different theaters of war in your tug-of-war. We're actually going to be playing Caesar, which is kind of a spiritual successor to this one, and then Dogfight, which is a spiritual successor to these two. We're going to be playing those on stream, I think, next month.
Yep. One this month, one next month. So stay tuned for that.
So we'll get to play the other two, which I'm really excited for, because I like Blitzkrieg. I've demoed Caesar, liked it a lot more than Blitzkrieg, and then Dogfight seems interesting too. So
check those out. Stay tuned.
We played some Boop. I actually got to play Boop for the first time this month. It could have been the first one. This is a little abstract game. That's a good abstract game that sells 100 times more copies because of the theme, where you're booping cats, and it's great. Again, theme matters. This is a great abstract game. But the thing is, it would have been a very like, oh, here's this game. Now that it's about cats,
way better.
It's incredibly popular.
Because cats boop other cats off the bed, and that is fantastic. And there's going to be a Halloween version coming, which I'm absolutely going to buy.
Theme matters, publishers. Great game. Boop's great.
I got hoodwinked into buying a stupid cat pin because they're so cute.
You did. We played Crokinole, which was great. We played a bunch of this at your daughter's first birthday party.
It was amazing. We put it out in the patio area, and it was like so cool to sit out there and play. And I was like, oh, it was amazing. This game is obviously amazing. All time great.
It's very, very good. Played Decorum. We played this. You, me, and your wife played this. Karen.
We did.
I played a 3-player game.
Crushed it.
We did. We played it. We did very, very well. Decorum is a great game where you're all trying to design a house together. You all have very specific stuff you want, but no one else knows that stuff, and you're just changing stuff and getting each other's way, and trying to have a symbiotic relationship. It's great.
It's so good.
It's absolutely
so good. Next up, we played Arth.
Probably like 7 times. Probably like 12 times.
It's super good.
Yeah.
It's just really solid. Highly recommend it.
Love it. Love it to death. Great game. Peace for Odin. Good.
I love it.
Good game.
I love it so much. I played it on Board Game Arena most recently. I want to play IRL real bad.
I soloed it during the last marathon. I played it more recently than you. Yeah. Peace for Odin is incredibly good.
Best game ever.
We played a little Framework. We had like a 45 minutes before we had to do something.
Yeah, so we like played Framework.
And so we played Framework again, kind of like Sagani, kind of like Nova Luna, but really, really stripped down. And is at least between Nova Luna and Framework, I really like Framework a lot more.
Yeah, it's just really straightforward. Just grabbing tiles and building out areas. It doesn't get into any extra
It's
stuff.
just so straightforward and simple,
which is really nice. I love
one of
this
the best like
straightforwardness.
gateway games out there.
Yeah.
You played Ginkopolis.
I did. I played with Matthew, Jude, and Paula on Board Game Arena because it's in beta, I think, on Board Game Arena.
It's coming out fully soon.
This game is so freaking good.
You do love it. I love this game, but you freaking love this game.
It's all time. Number 2.
It was your number 2.
It's great. Play it on Board Game Arena if you haven't. It's so good. It's so much with so little.
Indeed.
So
we played It's a Wonderful World. Our friend Atlas wanted to play it. We got to
finally put together a good game.
You did. You
put
finally
together a
won
great
game.
game.
With this. Well, Mike's very bad at this game.
So bad.
This is an engine building game. It's in my top 10. I freaking love. It's such a good drafting engine building game that's quick and easy. It's so good. I don't know what it is about this game, but I can never ever get enough of it.
So rad.
We played Kanban EV. There is a overview for Kanban EV that came out today. Playthrough
tomorrow.
Coming out tomorrow.
Check it out.
Kanban EV is incredible. You said it might it's climbing your ranks. Mike's was like, this might be a top 10 game.
It's top 15 minimum.
Wow.
Top
It's really good. I finally am starting to... Vita Lacerda games, you have to play like 2 or 3 times to finally start to get them. Now that we've played this one 3 or 4 times,
so freaking
I'm kind of
good.
like, now I'm figuring out how to work it, and now I'm just like, oh, this is really good. This is really good.
Really good. Nick put together a really good game last time we played. Man, it's just
crazy.
Good. Yeah, it's going to be up there. We
played Kites. We played this after we played Slackjack.
We did.
With our friends. Kites is a
We
cooperative...
did not succeed at all.
Real-time game. It's so much fun,
We had fun.
We did
Ruel
really
was
bad.
there. We did poorly. I love this game. It's just literally yelling and flipping timers and playing cards as quick as you can. It's so fun.
It's one of those games kind of like That's on a Hat where you're like, this shouldn't be this fun, but it's so much fun.
It's so fun. Perfect beginning or end of night game.
You played a bad game.
I played New Frontiers. Played it with my buddy Chris.
Still refuse to play it.
It's in the Race for the Galaxy line. I think it's really fun. Super fast, as you'd hope it is. It's a race game. It's like 45 minutes max. Super good. Highly recommend.
You can play a little Point City.
I did. I also showed that to Chris in that game. Game day we did. Point City is a new one coming from Flat Out. They had a Kickstarter for it a while back. This is a Tableau building, so it's kind of like city building version of Splendor, but much better than Splendor because the fact that you're building a city gives me enough of a hook in. And then again, the way you get cards, you're drafting 2 cards that have to be adjacent to each other. You're either going to have their resource side showing or a building you can build, and as you build buildings, they're going to produce permanent resources to make things easier to build bigger. The fact that you have like the simple adjacency of grabbing stuff from this grid makes it so much better than Splendor. So if anyone wants to say it's just Splendor, I'm like, no, Splendor could never. Because this is better.
It's good. I love it. It's outstanding.
It's awesome.
I got to play Rococo. I played our good friend Atlas. We've talked about them many times. Wanted to play Rococo for a long time. Finally got a chance to play it. This is a game where you're garment makers and you're making fancy dresses and fancy coats.
You're going to a ball and you're trying to get people decked out.
Still freaking love it. I really, really love Rococo. I think it's outstanding. It's so much fun. It's just really, really good.
Alice out here said, don't be trash. The Splendor, it's a gem. It literally there's gems in it, and that's the beginning and end of the praise. That game is boring and arbitrary. Every rule in that game is just like, I don't know, I guess you have to do this to draft it. I'm like, who cares? Splendor Duel is infinitely better. I know you don't like it, but I do.
Seasons is also a great engine building game. We hadn't played this game in a long time. Very, very long time. Brought it off the shelf because we were just like, we haven't played this game in a while. And Seasons is still very, very fun. It's still good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Drafting dice. I did poorly. Doesn't matter.
We played So Clover a lot.
So Clover, girl. We play with Atlas a lot. We will often... Karen, Miss Atlas, and I have said your name on stream. I don't know why I'm not saying it now, but I'm not going to do it. We play this and we try to go for the perfect score. I am usually the reason we don't get a perfect score. And in fact, when I was at BG Spring, the 3 of them played it. They got a perfect score.
Wow, so you are the reason.
I already knew I was the problem, but you didn't need to prove it like instantly. They're like, we're going for perfect score. Hey, it's already done. And I'm like, all right. That hurts.
There you go.
It's so fun. It's fun little word association. You're going to have 2 random words next to each other. You have to try to make some sort of connection between the 2. Then you disassemble the clover and see people can reassemble the clover. Yeah. It's awesome.
It's insanely good.
Such a good clue.
Insanely good.
Word game.
I'm going to play Strike. This was also with Ruel and Amanda Panda.
Stupid fun.
and Lauren, we played this after we played Kites, or before we played Kites, somewhere there. Strike is a thematic gladiatorial battle game. It's very, very thematic. You're playing event cards, all kinds of. You're throwing dice into an arena. It's great.
Yeah, it's just random, hilarious, push you lucky.
We had to teach someone Turing Machine.
We played Turing Machine at Board Game
BG Spring.
BG Spring, and it was fun to be able to teach someone this game and have them kind of discover how it functions and stuff. Turing Machine is just absolutely incredible. Yeah, you know we love it. It's so good. If you like logical deduction type stuff, it's amazing sauce.
Dumb good.
Yeah.
Dumb good. We got to play Verdant, which we played like once we first got it, and then we just hadn't played it again. And then I think we were on a stream. We had like an hour left, and I was just like, "Can we relearn Verdant real quick? Because I really want to play it." So we played it again. It's great. It's a great middle zone between like Calico, which is super fun but super brutal, Cascadia, which is super fun but very kind of chill.
Open. This is
a good mix of having some restrictions. I still probably like Cascadia more.
Cascadia still reigns supreme. It's still at the top.
I think because it's just, I want that chill vibe, but I really, really like Verdant. I think it's absolutely outstanding.
Super pretty. Diana, I agree. That it's super pretty cover. It's a great game. It's a great game.
Very good.
Yeah, and not as brutal as Calico.
We played Whistle Mountain.
Whistle Mountain.
This is a game that sparked a video I did where I talk about games I convinced myself I don't like, but I actually do. This is one of them.
Yes.
I really like Whistle Mountain. It's a very interesting game.
It is. It's different than anything else we've played, where you are building these machines and stuff, and you're building this scaffolding out of this canyon, which is consequently flooding as you play the game. And what's really fun is you have these airships. And basically, when you place an airship, anything that they're adjacent to, they're sharing a side with, they can activate. Sometimes there'll be pure resources that are on the scaffolding themselves, and you'll just be able to collect that resource.
Yeah.
If you're adjacent to or on top of a machine, any machine or machines that you're adjacent to, you get to also activate. So you get to put together these turns where, oh, I'm going to grab this water and this gold over here. I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to turn that in and get a point and a coal. And over here, I can use this coal and turn that in. Like, you can do these wild turns, and you can also put your airships around the edge of the board itself to collect more of those machine pieces that you hope to build, which will score you points and stuff. It's just different. It's just different and spatial, and there's polygonal tiles you play. It's got a lot of cool stuff.
It can be a little bit mean, so you just have to know that going into it. But now that we know that, then I'm like, oh, it's not that actually that bad.
What I realized, and Atlas helped me teach this, it's not that the game is mean. But if you can leave yourself open for other people to then like build on something you built. So you just need to be efficient.
Yes.
Like if you're going to build some scaffolding, you need to cover that up.
Go like, I'll do this, thank you.
Yeah. So it's like you can just. So it's not mean.
You don't want to set yourself
up. You can't burn something down that someone else
builds.
No. But you can leave yourself open for other people to be like, I'm going to exploit that.
Yeah,
that misstep you just took.
The last thing we played on this list is going to be Wonderland's War, which we played with Atlas, who has come up many, many, many times. Wonderland's War is still great. I really like it.
You had a pretty bad luck game.
The only thing with Wonderland's War, and this is the only thing I can say about it, is like, if you are having a bad luck game, it is really frustrating.
It's frustrating because there's enough choices in the game where you're hoping to set yourself up for success.
Yes. It's kind of like Quacks and Quedlinburg, where like you can just have really, really bad games. But with Quacks and Quedlinburg, because that game is lighter and quicker, I don't mind it as much when I'm having a horrible game. But with Wonderland's War, like I actually ended up coming back and getting I still came in third, but it wasn't a blowout. But the first like 3/4 of the game, I was just like, cool, I can't do anything. It was getting really frustrating. I do wish there was a bit more of like a catch-up mechanism or something in the game.
Yeah.
Because I just could not do
one.
anything. I couldn't unlock anything because I kept just busting. I couldn't win. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And it was a bit frustrating. I
think it's
love the game, but I do wish there was a bit more of a catch-up mechanism or a way to mitigate stuff a little bit more because I was just having the worst luck in the human.
It was
existence.
rough, and I think it's all the more reason to, when you're playing this game and you're in the tea phase, the tea party phase, where you're collecting cards and gaining chips and stuff like that. Just make your choices fast.
Quick. Yeah.
Don't dwell, because you're randomly pulling crap out of a bag anyway. So who cares? So just be quick.
Yeah.
Because then if you're having a bad luck game, at least it's not a 2-hour experience of that.
And it shouldn't be.
Be fast.
It should be quicker. And I still really, really love this game. But yeah, there are times where I was just like, this is not fun.
You had a stretch where you didn't do anything.
I could not do any. I was setting myself up well. Couldn't do it. I just could not do anything. And so, yeah. But nonetheless, Wonderlands War is still really, really outstanding. And that is it. 61 games this month.
Boom.
It was bonkers. We'll do a very quick Q&A. We do got to get out of here soon. But if anyone has any questions, pop into the chat. This is
Forthan
live.
asked a good question. Where does Overboss slot with Cascadian Verdant ranking? Is beneath both of those.
Yes, for us
we got rid of Overboss.
Like the game, it has too much setup.
Game. The setup is way too long.
The setup's like the length of the game.
At least. Like Overboss
feels like it
is a 10-minute game.
Yeah.
And the setup's 12, you know? So for us, we got rid of it for that reason. I think there's like an Overboss duel coming out, which I'm curious about.
Yes.
But we really liked what you're doing in that game a lot. It just was too much work to set up and take down for too little game.
Yeah. Do indeed like it, but just like, it was just one of the things where also we're like, we'll never play this over Cascade. So we ended up passing it along to someone who will play it. I do like it, but it's just, there's too much setup, although I am interested in the duel version.
A lot of people are interested in Wonderlands War. We haven't played it yet. And Quicksand asked, have we tried the other ability sets in Wonderlands War? They definitely changed the way you play. We have not. So for each of the chip types, there's 4 different abilities.
And
we've only ever played the B's, the C's, and we've only ever played the A's. And I really want to try the other ones because I'm curious what it changes for you.
And Royal said something about Overboss, which I've heard very good, is that it's got a really great solo. Because I know Jamie from Boston People loves it solo, and so I do. Again, we're not gonna get it back because we just won't play it. But I do wish I had played it solo because I've heard that's very, very good.
The player count, I think it's 1 to 4 in the base game. We only ever played it 2-player, but I think any player count's good. I would imagine. Do you review kid games ever?
We probably
do
will
if we play them. Like we had a relationship with Haba for a long time, and we would play their games, and we like their games. So we're not anti.
And then as Logan grows up,
it's going to. In 4 or 5 years, it's going to be
a lot of kids games.
Decent-sized part of the channel.
Yeah,
I
probably
that. So.
Rex said, when you guys went to the game convention recently, what did you guys think of Ross? We talked about it early in the video, so you can go back and watch that. Overall, really liked it. Super mind melty. It will burn the ever-living crap out of your brain. Super fun. Can't wait to get picked up.
It's a simple, really simple rule set, which is cool. So it's very puzzly and stuff like that, but it's not hard to understand how it works, which is great. We love that. Cool. Amiibo Comrade, we will not be at Origins. No, we will be at Gen Con.
Gen Con will be the next con, and then definitely PAX, but that's kind of all we can really guarantee at this point.
All we can guarantee is Gen Con and PAX, and possibly BGG Con in the fall.
Yeah, and you're good, Rex. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so, but... Yeah, Gen Con and PAX are the
I would love to go to BGG Con. Maybe we might go to the World Series board game. There's a slim chance we'll get to Essen, but not a very big one.
There's a few things in that like September to November range are like maybe.
It just depends. Life's been so. It's already June. Like life's been so nuts that who knows. But definitely, or Gen Con most likely PAX.
Alice says you heard it here first. 5 years, Logan's taking over the channel. Listen, I gotta retire at some point.
Yeah, seriously.
I gotta put that kid to work.
Indeed.
And Alice says, Wonderlands War is definitely a top 5 most Nick frustrated I've seen Nick during a game experience. Yeah, Nick was and again, you pulled it, you closed the gap late, but there was a while where it's kind of Jimmy and I like, hey.
Yeah, the first half of the game, I was not having fun. I was not having fun.
Yeah.
The third round, I had a good round, but the first 2 rounds, I was not having fun. It was really having fun. Did you have a hard time playing Ark Nova during your first play? I got negative points, did not realize I was doing that. It can. I mean, you never get a ton of points, and so, like, I just try and cross my 2 paths in that game. It can be a bit,
I almost wish, so like on Board Game Arena, now they've restructured the scoring. It's the same thing where you're crossing the paths, but they have, I think every conservation covers like 3 reputation or appeal spaces or something like that. So now when you're playing on Board Game Arena, it just tallies the score, and when someone hits 100, that will always mean that the 2 markers have passed. And so then if you lose, you have like 89. And so you have like a score. And like in retrospect, like maybe that would have been better. I like the way that the conservation stuff makes the game, like the way it affects the game and stuff. But like, I think for some people, like for us, it doesn't bother us that we didn't cross the path. I want to. That's always my goal.
Yeah.
But again, every score, for some people, it's really been a struggle. I don't care. Like, I didn't win. I wish I would won. Like, that's what, But for some, it's like, I almost wish they'd done that because I think for some people, they're like, man, I played for 3 hours and my score is -5. And that doesn't feel so great. But, you know.
It doesn't really bother me in Arc Nova, but I do understand that concept. And my problem with like games like TI Force, you're trying to get 10 points. Dune Imperium, you're trying to get 10 points. To me, I'm just like, that feels...
I want more.
It feels incredibly anticlimactic. But that's just me.
We don't recall having a particularly hard time. Probably in those first games, like one of us probably ended up not crossing our markers, but we just didn't dwell on it, you know.
Yeah. Gordon says, so the brothers Murph will soon become the sisters Murph with Logan, and the puppy it'll be Logan and Mary. Yeah, there'll be definitely some sister Murph stuff.
Yeah, then Rosie will pop in. It's going to be a whole thing. I'm here for it. I can't wait.
I'm here for it.
All right, first game Arc Nova, so I've retired it.
There you go.
Retired on top.
Who's got a last minute question here? Then we'll get on out of here. But thank you again so much for watching this, everybody. It's a bit of a long one because we had a lot of games to talk about. Holy crap!
Different people feel differently about the negative scoring. If I don't cross my markers, I don't calculate my score. I'm just like, I didn't win because I clearly can't have. So I just whatever.
I don't care about my score in Arc Nova because it's just did I win or did I not win?
Yeah,
and to me,
I think of it like a win-loss game.
Yeah, it's you're getting credit or not, and that's it. Do you guys have a review on Foundations of Rome? I definitely talked about it in a Rapid Reviews many months ago, but I have not played it since, and Mike has not played it, and we don't do any like formal review videos. I would like to play it as a playthrough at some point on our channel, but we'd have to we might be.
The short answer is Nick played it on game night, and Nick loved it.
Yeah, I really did like it a lot. Don't need to buy it because it's just way too expensive for me personally.
But we're gonna settle that ourselves anyway, so it's not gonna matter.
To be fair, we are gonna need a copy of the game, but no, because I want to put it all in there.
In the box?
Yeah. Everything's gonna change, but yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have a whole
Stay
plan.
tuned.
There's a lot of weird plans. We have a lot of weird plans going on. Yeah.
We're currently working on.
Kind of working on 3 very weird videos. A couple of which will probably take like a couple years to do, but nonetheless.
Yeah. But
I really want to play Tribes of the Wind. I think we're getting Tribes of the Wind.
It's arriving tomorrow.
Okay, there we go.
Yes. That was really fun at 2-player. That's really good to know. Thank you for letting us know.
That is good.
We're gonna copy that and Rawa. What? The other one from Hachette. Super excited for Tribes of the Wind. Really want to try it.
Indeed. But yeah, I definitely like Rex. I really like Foundation Rome. It's really fun. Really fun. It's a great.
You two? Weird? What? How dare you? Never ever in your life. If there's anything else, everyone, let us know. Drop a comment. Right after this ends, of your favorite game of the month.
Yes.
Please thumb this video up. If you have not already, it really does honestly help this video get out there as soon as it goes out as a video.
It really does.
We appreciate it. And consider supporting our Patreon. We'd appreciate that.
Indeed. All right, everyone, get on out of here. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.